In a premise reminiscent of Charles Bronson Toshiro Mifune western Red Sun, Gun Frontier pairs a fish-out-of-water samurai with a wandering cowboy, and sends them off on what should surely be an epic exploitation adventure. Saved from drowning by half-blind Japanese swordsman Tochiro Oyama, noble outlaw Frank Harlock Jr. swears to help him on his quest to find a legendary samurai clan who disappeared after coming to America in search of a new life. As the series begins, they are quickly joined by Shinyonora, a mysterious woman who tags along with them after all three are run out of a deadbeat town. Needless to say, she seems to have a hidden agenda, and apparently would like nothing more than to drive a wedge firmly between this unlikely duo. Based on the 1972 Leiji Matsumoto manga of the same name, Gun Frontier acts as a sort of prequel to the long-running adventures of space pirate Captain Harlock, here starring his apparent ancestor. Fans of the franchise may be surprised to learn, however, that it's Tochiro who takes the lead role here, not Harlock himself. Indeed, Gun Frontier in general is pretty far removed from the captain's usual swashbuckling heroics. As a genre, the western is not something often touched upon in anime, although many action and sci-fi series undoubtedly borrow from or reference it in some way. It's surprisingly rare to see a straight-up horse opera. Even more curiously, Gun Frontier seems to owe more to the European spaghetti westerns with their caustic view of frontier morality than their generally optimistic American counterparts. Despite often being billed as a comedy, I found the series far too downbeat and misanthropic to really see the funny side. There are certainly amusing moments, witness our hero's arrival in the town of Do As You Please, for example, marked by the sight of a man sitting in a toilet in the middle of the street. But in the main, the series is surprisingly, often oppressively grim. In true spaghetti fashion, Harlock and Tochiro are hardly the white-hat heroes such a world clearly needs. They aren't adverse to taking out any villains who might get in their way, but they're too much interested in their own ends to bother cleaning up the town. Even when they do end up taking down the bad guys, no one seems to thank them for it. Although the narrator frequently comes out with bombastic one-liners about how Gun Frontier is the place where a man can feel so alive, our heroes frequently find themselves subjected to torrents of abuse, are backstabbed by almost everyone they meet, and wind up facing the hangman's noose in just about every episode. Sexual violence is never far away either. The show stops short of anything explicitly nasty, but Shinyonora rapidly becomes a magnet for fetishistic degradation and attempted rape. All of this would be fair enough if the story was doing something to justify it, but the narrative is pretty flimsy. Tochiro's quest to find his people is a perfectly good setup, but the story drags it out far beyond its limits. The manga on which the series is based was not especially long, and even at 13 episodes, it feels as if there was a struggle to fill the show's running time. The same narrative beats are frequently recycled with very little change, and there's a curious lack of pace. Things do begin to pick up towards the end as the air of gloom recedes a bit and the narrative makes some progress, but really they could have comfortably gone through the entire plot in about half the running time. But it's a western, I hear you cry. What about gunfights? Although Matsumoto's distinctive artwork has transferred reasonably well from the manga, his quick-draw shootouts have not. In the main, the fight scenes are functional, but really for a show like this, the action needs to be better to make it worthwhile. Even beyond the age-old problems of making good action scenes on a limited budget, there were far too many times when I found myself saying, why are they just standing there? This may well be down to series director Soichiro Zen. This was his first outing in the big chair, and with most of his previous work being on the Doraemon movies, he seems an odd choice for this kind of show. Not to say though that Gun Frontier is a dead loss. Its setting and air of moral bankruptcy do much to make it stand out from the crowd, but really I'd still struggle to recommend it. As a 6 or even 4 episode OAV it would be passable, but as a 13 episode series the story just doesn't do enough to hold your attention. Added to that, I don't think the DVDs are really worth the high prices they're now often changing hands for. As for anime westerns, I'm sure the door is still wide open. Discounting any sci-fi themed efforts, about the only other one I could find in English was a one-shot OAV called Early Rains. The story follows a group of women who band together to foil a train robbery, and while that sounds serviceable enough, I hear it's a pretty unremarkable film. While it's more of a horror-themed effort, I do feel an honourable mention is also due to Shizuya Wazarai's short manga Blaster Knuckle, the tale of a freed slave turned champion boxer who fights Ku Klux Klan vampires with a quad-barreled shotgun fitted inside his glove. It's not subtle, and it owes a clear stylistic debt to Berserk, but really, if you don't think that sounds awesome, you have no soul. So until next time, see you, cowboy.